This is the Mark Levin Show, where the Reagan Coalition meets every day. Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
I saw a little piece on National Review Online about a gentleman named Adam Hasner. Now, most of you outside of Florida, maybe outside of southern Florida, never heard of Adam Hasner. Well, you never heard of Marco Rubio either, when I was the first syndicated host to bring him on. But I was reading about him. This guy's pretty good, and the senator there is the hapless Bill Nelson, who needs to be defeated if we're going to reestablish constitutional government. And I think this young man's pretty good. Adam Hasner, how are you, sir?
Great to be with you tonight.
Now, my pleasure. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an unapologetic conservative who has been traveling the state for the past few months, having a conversation with the people of Florida about what we need to do to get our country back on the right track. And as you were saying, 2010 was a good start, but in 2012 we need to send in the reinforcements, people that are, you know, have the courage to say what needs to be said and have the principles to do what needs to be done. And I've been very encouraged by the feedback we've been getting with our exploratory committee, which people can find about me at adamhasner.com.
Now, you're the former Florida State House Majority Leader, is that correct?
Yeah, I was the majority leader. Marco Rubio tapped me to be his majority leader in 2007, and so I served side by side with Marco, and we were fighting the battles against Charlie Crist even back then. I was the guy that was saying, now's not the time for Republicans to be less partisan. Now's the time for Republicans to be more principled. And just like you, I think you and I have something else in common, is that we were early supporters of Marco Rubio when all of the rest of the Republican establishment was supporting Charlie Crist.
Yeah, and this is why I was attracted to what was written about you, because by all means you're your own man, but you are a solid conservative. You don't feign about it. You're articulate about it. Well, let me go through a few issues with you, not to put you on the spot, but you know people are going to do it anyway. This deficit this year, $1.65 trillion, and the debt overall is so massive. I mean, I just don't think $4 billion here, $6 billion here is going to cut it. And Rubio was on last week. He said the same thing. What do you think?
Well, I've been speaking out about this already, saying that these continuing resolutions, I think Marco Rubio and Alan West had it right. These continuing resolutions are not the way to go. And I think the next big issue on the horizon is going to be to see how many of the Republicans we sent to Washington have the principle to stand up and vote no on increasing the debt limit. And I think that's the next battle. And you know, I've been working with Ken Blackwell on a national initiative called Pass the Balanced Budget Amendment, passthebba.com, which is a citizen action group to pass a balanced budget. But that's simply not enough. You know, we need to cut spending short term, and more importantly, you know, I think there's some good proposals out there. We need to get long-term entitlement spending under control, because you mentioned the $14 trillion national debt. I think that's now become our nation's greatest national security threat.
Would you consider yourself aligned with the Tea Party activists in the sense that Mike Lee and Rand Paul and others have been?
I do, and you know, I've been out traveling the state, and I've met with so many of the Tea Party and 9/12 groups around Florida, and I think I share their message, which is enough is enough. You know, we want leaders to tell it like it is, and if we're not going to get the people up there to get the job done, then we're going to find somebody else to do it. And I've been, you know, inspired by, you know, so many of those folks. I'll tell you that I didn't have a plan to run for the United States Senate 6 months ago, let alone probably even 6 weeks ago. And as I was traveling the state, talking about our fiscal mess and a balanced budget amendment and amongst other things, I have been so encouraged and so inspired by the people who have just really, the American people are awake, and I think anyone who thinks that this movement is going away has another thing coming to them. I think they are more energized and more educated than ever before, and they recognize, too, that 2010 was just the beginning, that we still have a lot of work to do in 2012 to get back control of the United States Senate, take back the White House, and really, it's not just about electing Republicans. It's about electing conservatives and principled conservatives who are going to do the tough things, and people are ready for that, and that's what I'm seeing when I'm traveling around Florida.
I'm talking to Adam Hasner. That's Hasner. He worked with Rubio in the State House. Rubio, I believe, was Speaker. You were the Majority Leader, right?
That is correct, and that was at the time, when Charlie Crist was governor, and he was trying to drive the Republican Party to the middle. He was the guy saying the best way to beat the Democrats was to join them, and I was proud to be an unapologetic conservative then. And one of the best things as I go around the state now and talk with folks, I don't need to reinvent myself as a conservative. And even though I'm from South Florida, where in Palm Beach County, where being a conservative hasn't always been popular, I've been, unapologetic and certainly uncompromising in my principles. And, sometimes you take a lot of grief, from moderates or from the Democrats, but, it has truly been, the way that I have worked in the political arena.
Now, when are you going to decide whether you run or not?
Well, in terms of our exploratory committee right now, we are traveling the state. We're raising money, and we're getting some positive encouragement. So I hope that over the course of the next couple of weeks, as we go out and speak to more groups, we'll have an official announcement sooner rather than later. But nothing on a timeline as of yet.
Now, a few more personal things. You're how old exactly?
41 years old, and was.
I like this. I like this young crop of conservatives like you who are articulate, who have experience under their belt, and who are on a mission to save this country. I mean, isn't that the mission at this point?
That is. And, one of the things that has me the most concerned is that right now we have too many folks in Washington who are worried about the political consequences and the political fallout. And Republicans, too, fall into this category. And they're more worried about the political maneuvering in Washington as opposed to what the consequences are going to be for our country if we don't act. And, I don't know how long we have, but it's certainly, the time is, certainly growing short in terms of making these big decisions and turning this country around. And that's the energy of the Tea Party and the 9/12 and constitutional groups that are out there. They want to restore our foundational principles, and that's where, my energy comes from and my passion comes from. So I'm like I said, I'm excited when I get out there and have the opportunity to talk with these folks and continue to get some great encouragement, from those people, those conservative activists.
I want to send you a signed copy of my book, Liberty and Tyranny. Do you mind before you go?
I would love it because I only have it on Kindle right now. So you couldn't sign my Kindle, so I'd love to have a signed copy.
I could sign it, but what damn use would that be? But anyway, I'm just kidding you. So I want to send you a signed copy because you, to me, sound like the real deal, sir. Let me ask you this question. I know you're not going to want to mention, well, are you running against, you're going to be running against some probably guys that can raise a ton of money and so forth. How are you going to deal with that?
I think going into this, we know we're going to be outraised. We know we're going to be outspent. A lot of folks within the Republican establishment in Tallahassee within the party, certainly don't want to see, someone like me get into the race. But, my message, is one that is resonating with the conservative activists. And I'm not going to, worry about being politically correct. If people are looking for a candidate who's going to be politically correct and, who's just going to give them them poll-tested messages, then I'm not their guy. But if they want someone who has demonstrated in the past that they're a fearless conservative and somebody who, who has the courage to say what needs to be said and has proven he can do what needs to be done, then I think that message is going to resonate, and I think that's going to propel us beyond any of the money. Listen, money's important. Florida is a very expensive state. It's a big state, and that's why we've opened the exploratory committee so that people can contribute. And listen, people can make a difference in Florida right now. For as great as Marco Rubio is, and he's a good friend, right now every vote that he takes is being canceled out by Bill Nelson, and we cannot turn this country around until we take back the majority in the United States Senate. And so that's why we've opened up AdamHasner.com. People can follow me on Twitter and on Facebook, and they can certainly support our initial exploratory efforts by coming to the website.
So people can donate now?
People can donate now, and people can sign up and be a part of our movement.
Adam Hasner, Hasner, AdamHasner.com, you said?
That is it.
Well, now, how many Republicans have announced that they're going to jump into this primary?
The only announced candidate is Mike Herodopoulos, who's the current state Senate president, and people are speculating as to whether the Charlie Crist appointed former U.S. Senator George Lemieux will jump into the race as well. Listen, these are guys that I know that I've worked in Florida politics with for years, but in terms of other folks, it's a lot of speculation as to whether Congressman Connie Mack or others get in the race. But that's not really what I'm concerned about. I think, what I'm doing is taking the conservative message directly to the conservative activists that are out there, and I think that it's going to be more about, who has the energy and the passion and who really has the proven record as a conservative to go to Washington and shake things up.
Well, I'm very impressed. I want folks out there to know. AdamHasner.com. Mr. Producer, let's get that up on our social sites, too. I'm very impressed with you, sir, and I hope we can have you back again if and when you decide to run.
We would love to do it, and certainly I appreciate what you do, and certainly all that your listeners and your audience do in terms of getting Republicans back to conservative principles, and that's really the only way we're going to be able to restore the promise of America.
Well, if you decide to run and we can have one more chat with you, I may endorse you, because I'm serious. I'm very impressed. Not that that's the end-all and be-all, by the way. I'm just saying, I actually have a piece of...
I'd love to have you on my team, and I'd love to have your listeners on the team, and I think that's what's going to make the difference. And like I said before, it's about those people that are out there. Our campaign's not going to be built on the special interest money or flying around on corporate jets. I'm driving my car with my Garmin GPS by myself around the state and meeting with folks, and certainly that's what it's going to take. And so would love to have you and others on the team.
All right, my friend, keep it up. I was going to say, I have a piece of property in Florida, and one day that may be my home, so it's important to me that we get the right senators down there,
You got it. Everybody ends up down in Florida anyway at one point, so we just need to get you down here sooner.
All right, man. God bless. Thanks for coming on.
God bless.
All right, take care. That is Adam Hasner, a solid conservative, former Florida State House Majority Leader, served with Rubio, who was the Speaker at the time. This guy's 41 years old, and he's solid across the board. And I can't endorse until I know somebody's actually jumping in, but it sounds to me like he's going to. This is a guy I think we're going to like a lot. Adam Hasner, Hasner.com.